Welcome in this new video on how to create simple tools with xDesign. If you have a vise and you ever wanted to hold a cylindrical part vertically, you already noticed it could be difficult to be sure part is and stays vertical. If you push too much, the part may also move during drilling. The goal of this video will be to create tailor-made jaws to hold a cylindrical part safely and exactly vertical. As always, I start creating a new part and give it a name in my collaborative space. I select a plane and start a sketch, and based on vise dimensions, I create the overall shape of first jaw. I create a box with dimensions and see how I can enter a mathematical operation directly in the dimension. Here I add the width plus 2 times the thickness I want to add. This is here a simple sum, but it could be much more difficult. I extrude mid-plane in case I need a symmetry later, and first block is done. Then I like to create a cavity to host vise jaw. For that, I create a sketch on the side with an offset of outer lines. To keep the offset, I turn bottom line as construction line and add 2 vertical lines. Here is the first mistake. See the blue line on bottom right. This means the line is not defined enough and could move in case I change dimension. I didn't notice that and continue with the cut based on vise dimensions. It looks nice, so now I can focus on shapes that will hold my cylinder in place vertically. For that I use a V-shape cut as it is commonly used in the industry. I place the lines and then I add relationships to force them perpendicular and oriented at 45 degrees. I add a reference line to define the V-shape in the middle with a dimension. As you can see, I need more material to keep my part strong enough, so I reduce cut depth. And I finish my sketch with a line, of course. Cut is made and looks good. But what if the part I need to hold is smaller than this cut and jaws lock before they press the part? So to solve that, I create smaller cuts with the same rules next to the big one. I create a medium-sized cut and a small one. It should be enough for most of the cylinders I will need to hold in this vise. Of course, I add perpendicular relation and angle, but also dimension between the cuts to be sure they don't move in case the dimension changes. It also helps solving problems like this one. With less degrees of freedom, the solution is easier to find for xDesign. Now I would like to add some grip on the flat sides in case I want to press something there with maximum security. For that I create some rectangle shapes with some dimensions, including dimension with the rest of the part, of course. Then I pattern them across the height, and with a quick mass I choose to pattern with the full length and the number of instances. Then I tried another width for rectangles, but I still don't like it. So I changed the rectangles for triangles. But see again how I keep blue geometry which is not defined enough. Is it a good idea? We will see quickly why it is not. Just to check, I measure inside cut, but I realize clearance may be too small. So I decide to increase overall length of the part. And this is where my previous mistake creates an issue. I don't notice it, but here the line didn't stay vertical, so sides are not fully vertical anymore. And I print the part like that. Great. To do that, I choose bottom face of the part and export to STL, ready for 3D printer slicer. After that, of course, I use STL file with 3D printer slicer, and this is printing time. First jaw is done, so I need to create mirror part. This is simple. At the same time, I realize my first mistake on the real part, so I go back to the right sketch and I add the relationship I forgot. It's important to look at your model and check all warnings xDesign displays to prevent mistakes. I've not been careful enough, all the signs were there. Now I can increase again size of the part and probably sand previous jaw to remove wrong material. This new jaw will have to live on the other side of the vise, so I decided to add tabs to improve stability. To do that, I reuse geometry on a portion of the part to extend across the vise existing jaws I had a symmetry for the cut, so I had only one dimension for both sides. With an extrusion, I get the first part and the extensions. Then I add the returning tab, adding some relationships with extensions. But again, I didn't pay enough attention to the bottom line here that stays blue. So it is not linked to extension. A new mistake I will pay very quickly, but this time before 3D printing. I create one side, then mirror it. I don't forget to select sketch, so extrusion creates both tabs at the same time. Once I create tabs, I realized they are too long, so this jaw couldn't fit. So I reduce their height, changing extension sketch. Of course, they are not linked. They don't follow and I need to add this relationship to the sketch. Now, it will follow correctly any further change. I finish with a cosmetic fillet. And again, I create STL to send to the 3D printer. Once processed in the slicer, it is again printing time. Assembly is more than easy. Just put jaws in place and then you can safely drill a hole in a wooden dowel. Of course, it could be much more accurate with a vise properly fixed to the drilling machine. But for the example, it did the trick. If I need to hold a bigger cylinder, I can use one of the other cuts. Remember to keep your sketches fully defined so they will be strong enough to support a lot of changes. No blue, only black sketches, this is the rule. If you want more information on how to get 3D Experience SOLIDWORKS for makers, connect on solidworks.com/makers. Yes, that easy. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.